Hello children, how are you? I'm back today with your first chapter, that is the best Christmas present in the world. Since it was the previous video was the first one, we started with the poem, but now we'll continue with the chapter. Okay, this is a story based on the army people and a couple, Mr. and Mrs. Macpherson, and the author, Mr. Michael Moorcockle. The author of this story is the Michael Moorcockle. And Moorcockle is very famous for his novels and especially storytelling concepts. That means he is expert in storytelling. Okay, so this story is also about a Christmas day and the feelings about an army man and how he shared his feelings with his wife. Okay, let's continue the lesson without wasting any more time. Children, I am using both your PDF files as well as YouTube also, so that you can see the pictures. Sometimes it is very difficult to express in words, and it is more clear when you see the pictures. So I am using both PDF file and as well as YouTube. So let's start with the chapter now. I spotted it in a junk shop in Bridgeport. A rolled off dress. The man said it was early 19th century and old. So actually, the author, I here is the author, Mr. Moorcockle. He spotted, he found out. Spotted means finding out. In a junk shop. Junk shop is a shop where old things are sold. Okay? Bridgeport is a place in Britain. He wanted a roll top dress. Roll top dress is something like this. Okay? So he found this rolled up dust in the junk shop, and the shopkeeper said him that it was early 19th century. It was made in early 19th century and also made from oak wood. Okay? Oak is the name of the tree. I had wanted one, but they were far too expensive. The author also wanted one, but many were very expensive. Okay, this one was in a bad condition. A roll top in several pieces. How was the roll top? It was in bad condition and it was in several pieces. Several pieces of phrase here. Phrase, I think you know. Phrase is a sentence which doesn't have subject or predicate. Okay, several pieces. It is into many pieces. One leg clumsily mended. Clumsily means clumsily, awkwardly. Mended, repaired. Okay? Clumsily mended. One of the leg was awkwardly repaired. Scorch marks all down one side. On one side, what was there? There were scorch marks. What is scorch marks? Burn marks. It was going for very little money. How was it going? It was going for he was getting that root of dust for very less cost. I thought I could restore it. What did the author say? He thought he could restore. Restore means repair himself. Okay? It would be a risk, a challenge, but I had to have it. I paid the man and brought it back to my workroom at the back of the garage. What did he think? It was a risk to purchase a bad furniture, right? But he thought he will take it as a challenge and he will repair it by himself. So he gave the money to the shopkeeper and brought that to his workroom. Workroom is a place where work is done. It may be a garage or a place near the garage also. I began work on it on Christmas Eve. Christmas Eve means an evening before Christmas. An evening before Christmas. Okay? I removed the roll top completely and pulled out the drawers. The veneer had lifted almost everywhere. It looked like water damage to me. Okay. What is the author saying? He removed the complete test into so that he can repair that, polish it, and again construct it. So he dismantled it first. But what he found that is the veneer. Veneer means the column or the outer layer of the furniture. Had been lifted almost from everywhere. It looked like water damage to it. Okay. And how was the furniture looking? The furniture means the roll top disc looked. It was looked like water has damaged it very badly. Both fire and water had clearly taken their toll on their desk, on this desk. Taken their toll. It is a phrase. It is a phrase again. Taken their toll means damage. Okay. So water and fire, both the things damage the roll top desk very badly. The last drawer was stuck fast. I tried all I could see ease it out gently. Okay. But when he started removing it, dismantling it, he found that the last drawer, as you can see in the picture, it was jammed. It was jammed. It was closed tight. Okay. So the author tried very hard, tried to open it gently. But when he could not open it properly, he used the brute force. In the end, I used brute force. I struck it sharply with the side of my fist, and the drawer flew open to reveal a shallow space underneath a secret drawer. Okay. First, he tried to open it smoothly, but he could not. So, what he did, he gave punch, one punch with his fist. Fist means mukka. To the drawers. With that, the drawer came out easily. It came out easily. And what he found? He found a secret drawer under it. There was something in there. I reached in and took out a small black tin box. And what was there in that? There was a black tin box inside it. Sellotaped to the top of it was a piece of lined notepaper and written on it in shaky handwriting. Jim's last letter received January 25, 1915. So, how was the box? It was black tin box and on which there was a piece of note written on it, and that too in a shaky handwriting. When if you can see if the people write in shivering, so the writing also shakes, right? That is the shaky handwriting. What was written? Jim's last letter. That was Jim's last letter. And when was it received? January 25, 1950. And there was a note also. To be buried with me when the time comes. When time comes, that letter should be buried with the so-called person. Okay. I knew as I did it that it was wrong of me to open the box, but curiosity got better of my scruples. Scruples, hesitation. Okay, like hesitating that see if we should never touch others things, right? We usually hesitate to open others things, but sometimes it happens that we know that which is wrong, but still our curiosity forces us to do that, right? But our curiosity makes us do that activity, that act. Okay. So similarly here also the author was getting hesitated not to open, but his mind was so curious that he wanted to see what was inside it. It usually does. Inside the box there was an envelope. The address read Mrs. Jim Macpherson, 12 Copper Beeches, Bridport, Dorset. I took out the letter and unfolded it. So underneath inside the box, what was there? There was an envelope, and on the envelope there was an address. What was the address? It was written to Mrs. Jim Macpherson, 12 Copper Beeches, Bridport, Dorset. And she took out the letter. The author took out the letter and unfolded it. Unfolded, it is an opposite of folding. So he opened the letter. It was written in pencil and dated at the top December 26, 1914. So, what did the author do? He opened the letter, and in the beginning there was a date written, and the letter was written in pencil. Okay, And second thing was the date written was 26th December 1914. 26th December, just after the Christmas day. And children, 1914, do you have any idea what was the speciality of 1914? Yes, it was the First World War took place in that year. Okay. Dearest Connie, I write to you in a much happier frame of mind because something wonderful has just happened that I must tell you about at once. So what was the how was the letter started? See, even we say right, dear mama, dear papa, right? Here also when we call our friends or loved ones, we call them with names, right? So here also, Mr. Jim Macpherson is writing this letter to Mrs. Jim Macpherson, and Mrs. Jim Macpherson's other name was Coney. Okay, so it was started saying the letter was started saying, dearest Coney. And how was he writing? He was in a happier frame of mind. Happier frame of mind means very happy even from mind also, because something wonderful had just happened with him. Okay, we were all standing too in our trenches. Trenches is a place, ditches where army people hide themselves and aim to the enemies. Okay, as you can see in the picture, trenches is the hideout of enemies, army people, where they hide themselves and aim at enemies. We were all standing to in our trenches yesterday. Okay, standing to, we were all standing in positions. Okay, standing in position in our trenches yesterday morning. That is Christmas morning. He wrote this letter on 26th December, and he was saying about yesterday. What was the yesterday? That is 25th December. That is Christmas morning. It was crisp and quiet all about, as beautiful as morning and as I ever seen, as cold and frosty as a Christmas morning should be. So what he is saying? He is saying that Christmas morning was very crisp, quiet, and very cold, frosty. Okay, and he also expected that Christmas morning would be like that, and he found it very beautiful and something very peaceful that he never felt before. I should like to be able to tell you that we began it, but the truth I am ashamed to say is that Fritz began it. So what he continued saying? Actually, he wanted to share about something which happened with him, and he's saying that if we have started it, it would be more wonderful. But I'm ashamed to say that we did not think in that way. But Fritz is a nickname given to German soldiers. Okay, German soldiers began it, and Tommy is a nickname given to English soldiers. Okay. First, someone saw a white flag waving from the trenches opposite. So they were in the trenches, and what did they notice? They noticed a white flag, as you can see in the picture also, a white flag. Why do people wave a white flag during the war? Because to have peace from the trenches opposite. Then they are calling out to us from across no man's land. Happy Christmas, Tommy. Happy Christmas. What were they saying? Tommy means the nickname given to British Army. Okay. And what were they shouting? They were shouting saying Happy Christmas, Happy Christmas. And no man's land. What is no man's land? If you can see, there is an area between the both the countries, the border area between both the countries, where no people live. That area is called no man's land. When we had got over the surprise, some of us shouted back, saying, same to you, Fritz, same to you. When they Suddenly, if some enemy talks in a happy or pleasing mood, we will get shocked, right? Here also, the British army people felt surprised that the German soldiers were wishing them happy Christmas. But they, after coming out from that mood, they also wished them saying, same to you, same to you. I thought that would be that. We all did. So, what was he saying? If someone wishes us happy Christmas, we obviously say them same to you, right? So, as everyone do, even we did. But then suddenly one of them was up there in their great coat and waving a white flag. So what did they notice? They saw one of the grey coats. Grey coats is the uniform, army uniform of Germans. Okay, in a person in grey coat standing with a white flag and that too waving. Don't shoot, lads! Someone shouted, and no one did. Someone behind shouted, "Don't shoot." Okay, so no one shooted him. Then there was another fridge up on the parapet and another. Parapet is the place just above the trench. Okay, where they dig, right? They dig and hide for the hideout. Just above that, as you can see the picture, this is parapet. Okay, now parapet and another. So what did they notice? After one man came, another came up, another came up. So in that way, one after other, many people came up and stood on the parapet. Keep your heads down, I told the men. It's a trick, but it wasn't. Here, Jim Macpherson, who was writing the letter, said to his army people that it might be a trick, so keep your heads down. But it wasn't that. So what did he say? We thought it was a trick, but it was not. One of the German was waving a bottle above his head. It was a Christmas day, Tommy. We have schnapps. We have sausages. We meet you. Yes? So one was waving the white flag, so another was waving a bottle on his head, and said it was Christmas Day, Tommy. What is the German person saying? That Fritz was saying, Tommy is calling out Tommy whom? British army person. Okay. What did he say? See, Tommy, it's a Christmas day. I have schnapps. Schnapps means a drink made of apple juice. Okay, and sausages is a snacks made of meat. Okay, so what did he say? He said we have sausages, we have schnapps. So let's come and meet. Let's meet. Okay, what did he say? Let's meet. We will have fun. Okay. By this time, there were dozens of them walking towards us across no man's land and not a rifle between them. So what was happening? So this slowly they were moving towards the no man's line. Okay, they were moving towards the no man's line. That too without any rifles. That too without any rifles. So it was something sharp, right? In between the war, these both the enemy parties wanted to celebrate Christmas. So this was a wonderful thing what Mr. Jim Macpherson wanted to share with his wife. Little Private Morris was the first up. Come on, boys, what are we waiting for? And then there was no stopping them. I was the officer. I should have stopped them there and then, I suppose. But the truth is that it never even occurred to me, even I should. Okay, so what is he saying? Little Private Morris is a army person in British Army, and he was the first one to stand up there, and he called his boys to saying, "Let's go. Why are we waiting?" Okay, and then there was no stopping, so everyone started going. Being the officer, Jim Macpherson had to stop them, but he also didn't feel to stop them. He also that I never occurred to me means he also didn't even feel that he should also stop them. Okay.
All along the line and us, I could see men walking slowly towards one another, grey coats, khaki coats meeting in the middle, and I was one of them. I was part of this. In the middle of war, we were making peace. So what did he say? In the like both the enemy groups, that is British army and the German army, were moving towards the boundary line, that is no man's land. And very soon, what he noticed, he was seeing that all grey coats and khaki coats in the middle of the line, and he was one of that group, and he also was a part of that incident. He was feeling very proud and happy to share this with Coney. You cannot imagine, dearest Coney, my feeling as I looked into the eyes of Fritz officer who approached me hand stretched. Approached me means came near, hand stretched to means forwarding his hand to give a shake hand. Okay? Hans Ulf, he said, gripping my hand warmly and holding it. I am from Dusseldorf. I play cello in the orchestra. Happy Christmas, Captain Jim Macpherson. Okay, just full stop and Happy Christmas. Okay. What did he say? I said him. I said you tried. He was stretching his hands. He was moving his hand forward to give a shake hand. So while shaking hand, what did he say? I am full hands full, and his shake when he shook hands with him, he felt a warm feeling. When do we feel warm? When we feel a friendly feeling. When we have a friendly feeling with the opposite person, we feel that touch to be very warm. Okay. I am from Dusseldorf. What did he further say? He said that he was from Dusseldorf. It is a place in Germany, and he further said that he played cello. Cello is something like violin. Okay, violin, and he wished Happy Christmas. To that, as a reply, Jim Macpherson said, Captain Jim Macpherson, I replied, and a happy Christmas to you too. I am a school teacher from Dorset in the west of England. Okay. What did Jim Macpherson say? Shaking his hand as a reply to that, I am Jim Macpherson and a school teacher from Dorset. And happy Christmas to you too. Okay. Ah, Dorset, he smiled. I know this place. I know it very well. What did Hans Wolf say? He said that he knew about Dorset. We shared my run ration and his excellent sausages. And we talked Coney how we talked. He spoke almost perfect English, but it turned out that he had never set foot in Dorset, never even been to England. He had learned all he knew of England from school and from reading books in English. They shared the rum. Rum is also a type of drink, and the excellent sausages. And they talked many things. And he spoke, that is, Mr. Wolf spoke with perfect English. But he never went to Dorset. All he knew about England and English from his school days and from reading books. His favorite writer was Thomas Hardy. His favorite book, Year from the Maddling Crowd, Far from the Maddling Crowd. So out there is in a no man's land, we talked of Bathsheba and Gabriel Oak and Sergeant Troy and Dorset. He had a wife and one son, born just 6 months ago. So what did they talk about? They spoke about many things, their favorite books, their favorite authors, and what was Mr. Wolf's favorite book? Far from the Maddling Crowd, as you can see in the picture. And next thing, Gabriel, Bathsheba, and Oak, Sergeant Troy. These are the characters of those authors and books. Okay, Dorset is a place. And what more they discussed? Hans Wolf said that he had a wife and a son of 6 months old. As I looked about me, there were huddles of khaki and grey everywhere, all over no man's land, smoking, laughing, talking, drinking, and eating. So, what did he see? Jim Macpherson said that when he turned around and saw all around him, he saw all the there were khaki coats and grey coats, people having laughing, sharing jokes, smoking. They were talking and they were drinking, having fun. In turn, he was saying that everyone were enjoying and were having fun. Okay. Hans Wolf and I shared what was left of your wonderful Christmas cake, Cooney. He thought that marzipan was the best he had ever tasted, and I agreed. Hans Wolf and Macpherson. I here is Macpherson. They both shared many things and all the leftovers. Like leftovers means sausages, schnapps, rum, and also the Christmas cake which was sent by Coney. And especially the marzipan. Marzipan is a covering over the cake, which is specially made from sugar and nuts. Okay, and even he said that he had never ever tasted such a good cake. So Mr. Macpherson also said that even I agreed to this. We agreed about everything, and he was my enemy. What is the special thing here? Jim Macpherson was British Army head and Hans Wolff was the German Army head. That means they both were enemies, right? But still, they had many things that they could share to each other. And they agreed on many things as well. There never was a Christmas party like at Coney. Then someone, I don't know who, brought a football. Meanwhile, what happened? Mr. Macpherson said that was saying that such a good Christmas he never had before. He said that he never had such a good Christmas celebration. And meanwhile, when all the party was going on, someone got a football. So what left? So as they got the football, they started to great coats were dumped in piles to make goalposts. And the next thing we knew, it was Tommy against Fritz out in the middle of the no man's land. So what happened? As they got the football, soon they decided that they will have a match between Tommy versus Fritz. So what did they do? They dumped all the grey coats into the piles. Means they took out their grey coats and made a goal post for their game. And the next thing was they had a match. That too in the middle of the land, no man's land. Hans Wolf and I looked on and cheered, clapping our hands and stamping our feet to keep out the cold as much as anything. So, what was Hans Wolf and Jim Macpherson did? They both cheered and clapped hands for the players, and both had fun and they were making themselves warm also by stamping or dancing stamping their feet. There was a moment when I noticed our breaths mingling in the air between us. Hmm. What did he still notice that in between the play, when the people were taking their breath, he saw that the air and they were taking and the air they were releasing was mingling. Mingling means mixing up. He saw it too and smiled. So same, the Hans Wolf also noticed that people were taking their breaths, heavy breaths, and their breaths were mingling in the air. So even he saw that and gave a big smile. Jim McPherson, he said after a while, I think this is how we should resolve this war. What did Hansful smile and say? He said that Jim McPherson, I think we should resolve this war like this only by playing football. Resolve means having a solution. A football match. What did he mean to say? He said that playing a football match or some play or some game, we should decide that who is the winner and they should sit and talk to their conditions. No one would die, no one dies in a football match. No children are orphaned. No wives become widows. I'd prefer cricket, I told him. Then we Thomas could be sure of winning. What did the British Army person, that is Jam McPherson said? I would prefer cricket instead of football because we everyone know that Germans are very good at football and the Britishers are good at cricket, right? So he said that he would prefer cricket so that he can win the game. And what did Hans Wolf said? If we saw playing like this, no one would die in the war. No children will be orphan. Orphan means people who don't have children who don't have parents. And no wives will become widows. Widow means no women who does not, who lost their husbands. Then we Thomas could be sure of winning, probably. We laughed at that and together we watched the match. So what did they say? But I prefer cricket, he said, and they both had a smile and they continued watching the match. Sad to say, Coney, Fritz won 2 goals to 1. But as Hansful generously said, our goal was wider than theirs. So it wasn't a quite fair. The time came and all too soon. So what did he say further? He said his wife, but Coney, we lost the match by 2-1. But Hans Wolf did not accept that. He was very generous. He said that their goalpost was very small when compared to theirs. The time came when all had to soon when the game was finished. The schnapps and the rum and the sausages had long since run out, and we knew it was all over. Run out means finishing out. Finishing out. So when the time came then when they have to dispatch each other, when they have to go back to their trenches, okay, Uh, it was very sad. Everyone was very sad. I wished Hans well and told him I hoped he would see his family again soon, that the fighting would end, we could all go home. So when they were departing, Hans Wolf and even Jim McPherson both had a good send off, and Jim McPherson further said that he wished saying that soon that war should be finished and we should safely go home to meet our families. I think that is what every soldier wants on both sides, Hans Wolf said. When Jim McPherson said that the war should end off soon and everyone should go safely to their families to meet their families. So handfuls also said that yes, everyone. I think everyone wants that only. Uh, and also wish the take care. Take care, Jim Macpherson. I shall never forget this moment for not you. He saluted and walked away from me slowly. Willingly, I felt. He turned to wave just once and then became one of the hundreds of grey coated men drifting back towards their trenches. Okay, what did they do? Very soon they started moving towards their own trenches. They were coming back to their own trenches. And Jim Macpherson also, like Jim Hanswolf also said Jim Macpherson to take care, and he also said that he would not forget that moment from throughout his lifetime. Drifting back means going back. Willingly, unwillingly. That is, unwillingly means uh, intention of not doing or uh, not doing that work. That night, back in our dugouts, we had heard them singing a carol and singing it quite beautiful. It was Still Night, Silent Night. Our voice gave them a rousing chorus of While Shepherds Watched. We exchanged carols for a while and then we all fell silent. We had our time of peace and goodwill, a time I will treasure as long as I live. Okay. What did they still do after going back to the trenches also? The Germans started singing of carols. Carols means mm, uh, prayer songs, and they were singing very beautifully. And the name of the song was Still Night. Still Night means it's a silent night, and to that even the British soldiers also encouraged them by singing their songs like Wild Shepherds Watch. Okay, both of them, both the groups shared their carols also, and after some time they both fell silent. So it became a complete silence. And he further said that Jim Macpherson is further saying that he would treasure, they were having a time of peace and goodwill. Goodwill means a good feeling to each other at that time. And he would treasure this. He would treasure means keep it preciously in his, he would note and keep it preciously as long as he lived that moment. Okay. Dearest Coney, by Christmas time next year, this war will be nothing but a distant and terrible memory. He is further saying to his wife that by next year, this war will be finished, and he was saying that this will be remembered as a terrible enemy, terrible memory only. I know from all that happened today how much both enemies armies long for peace. Long here means wanted. Okay. By that incident, he comes to know that both the enemy parties, all the people of this both armies wanted peace. We shall together again soon. We shall be together be soon, and I am sure of it. Your loving Jim. So what did he say? And mm, he would be coming soon, uh, and he would be together again. So and he said bye, and as we end of the letter, he has also said that your loving Jim. I folded the letter again and slipped it carefully back into its envelope. I kept awake all night. So after reading that letter, The author also felt emotional, and he also folded that letters carefully and kept back into that envelope and into the tin box. And he could not sleep all night, and he was awake all that night. By morning, I knew what I had to do. I drove into Bulletpur, just a few miles away. I asked a boy walking his dog where Copper Beaches was. So next day he knew what he has to do. So what do you think, children, he will do? Next day he will go and he will go in search of Mrs. Tim Macpherson and return that letter. Okay. So to do that he drove. Drove means driving. He went driving to Bridport, and while he was going in search of that place, he finds a boy who was walking with his dog, and he asked him where was Copper Beaches and house number 12. House number 12 turned out to be nothing but a burned out shell. The roof gapping, the windows boarded up, etc. So, as he should, he went to that place. And what did he notice? He noticed that that room, flat number 12, has become a burnt shell, become to a hollow shell due to fire. And everywhere it was like the doors were completely open. There was gaps in the ceiling also. I knocked at the house next door and asked if anyone knew the whereabouts of the Mrs. Macpherson. So, since the house was completely empty and it was burned completely, it was like an empty shell. So, what did he do? He knocked at the neighbor house, okay, to know about something about Mrs. Macpherson. Oh, yes, oh, yes, said the old man in his slippers. He knew her well. A lovely old lady, he told me, a bit muddle headed. But muddle headed means confused. But at her age, she was entitled to be, wasn't she? 101-year old. So what did he say? She's a very nice woman, but a muddle-headed. Muddle-headed means little confused. And at that age, it's obvious to be like that, right? She was 101 years old. So at that age, people will be confused. She had been in the house when it caught fire. No one really knew how the fire had started, but but it could well have been candles. She used candles rather than electricity because she always thought electricity was expensive. Okay. The man further said that when the house got fired, the lady was inside the house only, but no one knew how the house got fired, caught fire. And he still said that it might be because of the candles only, because the lady used only candles instead of electricity, because she thought electricity was very expensive. The fireman had got her out just in time. She was in a nursing home now, and he told me Burlington House on the Dorchester Road on the other side of the town. I found Burlington House nursing home easily enough. So he gave the address also. He said that the lady was safely safeguarded by the fireman, and it was done in time also. And later she was kept in a nursing home, which was in the Dorchester Road, on the other side of the road. Very soon, per his guidance, the author also moved to that nursing home, and he found it very easily also. There were paper chains up in the hallway and lighted Christmas tree stood in the corner with a lopsided angle of top. So angel at the top. How was it? When he went to that nursing home, he found that The nursing home was decorated by the paper chains. As seen in the picture on the right, you can see there were it was decorated and with the paper chains, and a Christmas tree, lighted Christmas tree, stood in the corner of that room, and there was an angel on the top. Okay, lopsided angel on the top. Lopsided means inverted. Yeah, bent a little on the side. I said I was a friend came to visit Mrs. Macpherson, to bring her a Christmas present. He said that he wanted to meet Mrs. Macpherson, and he wanted to give a Christmas present to her. I could see through into the dining room, where everyone was wearing a paper hat and singing. The matron had a hat on too and seemed happy enough to see me. So what he noticed, he further noticed that through a dining room, all people were wearing a hat, paper hat, and they were singing songs, prayer songs. Even the matron who came there to attend the visitor, that is author, she was also wearing a hat. She was also wearing a hat, and she was very happy to see him there. She even offered him a mince pie. Mince pie here is a meat dish. She walked me along the corridor. She took him along the corridor. Mrs. Macpherson is not in with the others, she told me. She is rather confused today, so we thought it best if she had a good rest. Okay. Today, the lady still continued saying that today Mrs. Macpherson is not with them because she was very confused today. So she would be very good if she had some rest. If she would be very best if she takes some rest. She had no family, no one visits. So I am sure shall be only too pleased to see him. So what did she say? She further said that Mrs. Macpherson has no family, so no one comes to visit her to see her. So she'll be very happy to and pleased to see you. She took me into a conservatory with weaker chairs and potted plants all round and left me. So where she took him to a conservatory. Conservatory is a greenhouse type, a glass house, where wicker chains are cane chains, and plotted plants all around and left me there. The old lady was sitting in a wheelchair, her hands folded in her lap. And how was she sitting? As you can see in the picture, she was sitting in a wheelchair, and her hands was in her lap, as you can see in the picture. She had silver white hair pinned into a wispy bun. Wispy bun, a shaky curly hair, which was it's a hairstyle usually old people wear. She was gazing out at the garden. What was she doing? She was seeing into the garden. Hello, I said. She turned and looked up at me vacantly. The lady turned towards him and looked at him, but she looked uh, confused. Okay? Vacantly, without any expression. She was gazing out at the garden. Hello, I said. She turned and looked up at me vacantly. Happy Christmas, Connie, I went on. I found this. I think it's yours. So what did the person say? He wished her happy Christmas and said that he found that tin box and he said that it might be yours. As I was speaking, her eyes never left my face. I opened the tin box and gave it to her. That was the moment her eyes lit up with recognition and her face became suffused with a sudden glow of happiness. When he was talking, the lady looked at him without any expression. But when he gave her the box and that letter inside it, she recognized it. She felt very happy and her suffusement spreading all over the face. Her face was glowing with the happiness. I explained about the desk, about how I found it, but I don't think she was listening. He explained us how he got that letter in that roll top desk. But he was doubtful whether she was listening to him or not. For a while she said nothing but stroked the letters tenderly with her fingertips. So for some time she didn't say anything, but she was wiping that letters, stroke the letters means wiping or moving her fingers on that letters tenderly, smoothly, okay, with her fingertips. Suddenly she reached out and took my hand. Suddenly, what did she do? She pulled his hand. Her eyes were filled with tears. What did he notice? He noticed that the lady's eyes were filled with tears. You told me you'll come home by Christmas, dearest, she said. So what did she say suddenly? Catching his hand, she said that, I know, you promised me that you will come on Christmas, dear. So this means she mistook the author to be her husband. Because you remember in her letter also he said that he will come on next Christmas, right? So she mistook the author to be her husband, and she said to him that as you promised, you will come on the Christmas. You came. Okay, she meant to say that. She said, and here you are, the best Christmas present in the world. So what did she say? Oh, as you said, you are here today. So this is the best Christmas present in the world for me. Come closer, Jim dear. Sit down. What did she say? Come closer to me. Jim, sit down. I sat down beside her and she kissed my cheek. Okay, what did she do? She pulled him and he had to sit near her. So, what did the lady do? She kissed his cheek out of love and affection. I read your letter so often, Jim. Every day I wanted to hear your voice in my head. It always made me feel you were with me. And now you are. Now you are back. You can read it to me yourself. Would you do that for me, Jim dear? Okay, what did the lady said? The lady said that she read that letter so many times daily so that she can feel his voice in her mind. So she said that she called the author Jim, saying, Jim, dear, can you read it for me again? I just want to hear your voice again. I believe that so much, I love that so much, and then perhaps we'll have some tea. She said that, uh, can you read it for me again? And the author said that, of course, he can read it. And the lady said that after reading the letter, they will have some tea. I love that so much, and then perhaps we'll have some tea. I made up. I made you a nice Christmas cake, marzipan all around. I know how much you love marzipan. So what did the lady said? With Christmas cake, with the tea, we will have the Christmas cake also, and I made it for you. And I know, and it is covered with marzipan, and I know how much you love the marzipan. So that lady was thinking the author, Mr. Morpurgo, to be her husband. So, children, the lady was thinking the author to be her husband, and she was talking to him as she speaks to her husband only. So she was saying that, dear Jim, dear, can you read this letter for me so that I can hear your voice once again? And after that, we will have some tea. And I have made you the Christmas cake also, that too with covered with marzipan. And I know how much you love that marzipan. Yes, so the author could not say no for all this. So he also did as the lady said, so that he can give that happiness to her, that lady, right? So he did as she said. So children, uh, so this was all about the story. See, as you see, this is the end of the story. So here the lady mistook the author Mr. Moore Purgo to be her husband, Jim Macpherson. So, children, this was the end of the story, and I hope you have understood and liked the story also. It is an emotional story, right? See how people fight in the wars, even though they don't want to do that, so they do it unwillingly. If, as Hans Wolf said, if all the wars would be resolved playing some games, either it might be a football or a cricket or any other game, it would be very good, right? In that way, also we can solve many issues. He meant to say. So, in that way, uh, Jim Macpherson had a best Christmas which he never had in his life. Second, Mrs. Macpherson, that is Coney, in that old age, she mistakes Mr. Moore Porgo to be her husband, and she also feels that her husband has come back, and that Christmas present was the best Christmas present in the world, right? In that way, even she has a good Christmas. And Mr. Morpurgo also, by helping or by spending some time with that old lady, he also feels very happy. So in that way, everyone or every all the characters in this, the main characters of the story, had a very good Christmas in one or the other way, right? So now there are some questions in between the chapter as well. Let's once go through them. After part 1, there we have some comprehension questions. Already we had some assignment also related where you have read this chapter. But still try to do this, answer all the questions of this exercises in your classwork copy. So coming to the question, what did the author find in a junk shop? He found a roll top desk. What did he find in the secret drawer? He found a black tin box. What do you think had put it in there? Whom do you think who put that in there? Mrs. Jim Macpherson, right? See children. After part 2 also we have some more questions. Who had written the letter to whom and when? Who wrote the letter? Jim Macpherson. Whom did he write? He wrote it to his wife Coney. And when did he write? He wrote it on December 26, 1914. Why was the letter written? What was a wonderful thing that had happened? Hmm. Jim Macpherson wrote this letter to Coney to share about a wonderful incident which happened between German soldiers and British soldiers on the Christmas Day, on the Christmas Day. What jobs did Hans Wolff and Jim McPherson have when they were not soldiers? Hans Wolff played cello in an orchestra, right? Whereas Jim McPherson was a school teacher in Dorset. These were the jobs done by them, right? Yes. Had Hans Wolff ever been to Dorset? Why did he say he knew? The Hans Wolff was never to England, right? Not to Dorset also. But he knew all about England and Dorset by his books. And he knew English also by reading English books. Do you think Jim McPherson came back from the war? How do you know this? See, he said that he would come back on by next Christmas. But after reading the entire story, now we can say that he might not have come because that is the reason it was kept and it was covered. It was written that that should be kept with her when the time comes. It should be buried with her when the time comes, right? So I don't think so. Jim McPherson came back home. Who did Connie MacPherson think her visitor was? Actually, who was the visitor? It was Michael Moore. But Connie thought it was her husband Jim MacPherson. Which sentence in the text show that the visitor did not try to hide his identity? Which sentence in the sentence says that he didn't hide? He says, "Hello, I am Mr. Moore. He wishes her happy Christmas. I'll show you it." See children, as I marked in the PDF file, from these sentences, we come to know that the author did not hide himself. He said that hello and he wished happy Christmas, and he said how he found that letter in the old tin box, right? But the lady was not listening to him, right? She did not take any interest about how that letter he found and how she brought it here, right? But he did not hid anything to Mrs. Macpherson. Okay, children. So we have discussed the comprehensive questions also. Now coming to the part, we will send you the assignment, second assignment also of this chapter through the website. As we send the video, we will send the PDF files also. So once go through the lesson, mark the hard words, and as I said, you might have noted the meanings of them also. So make a note of all these things, the meanings of the hard words, and as well as the question answers and other assignment, all exercises behind the questions, behind the textbook that are being discussed and posted on in the through a PDF file. Okay, go through them and write it in your classwork copy. Thank you, children. Have a nice day. Children, before I leave, please go through the videos once again. Okay, again and again, so that if there are any doubts, you will be cleared. And please cooperate with the management and also note all the assignments in your classwork copies. And we will be assuring you that all the classes will be going on like this. It may be a little slow, but they will go on smoothly. Okay, so without hampering the situation, we stay calm, be safe at home, and do the needful to yourself. Okay, so children, with the next chapter, I'll meet you again in the next video. Okay, okay then. Bye for now.